First season, I actually was in the basement at Joseph's,
Wow.
which was very, very cool. I mean, I always loved the Joseph department store, even as
Yeah,
a very young person,
right.
appreciating the three-story department store, the elevator. If you remember, on the first floor, you came past the elevator and you had that really cool kind of brushed chrome
Yeah,
handrail staircase that went down to the basement. And you came down those stairs, did the final two steps right next to the elevator, and
yeah.
straight ahead
Yes.
is where I was at in positions.
Welcome to Real Siblings, It Ain't Easy, a real estate podcast with the goal to educate, inform, and save their listeners time as they navigate the market and properties in their neighborhoods. Get ready to join real-life siblings and professional real estate advisors, Donna Reed and Eric Seemann, as they discuss how it may be simple, but it ain't always easy.
Every time I think about the places I have known, I realize that times have changed. So I'll do what I can to make this house into a home. Yeah, yeah.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Real Siblings, It Ain't Easy, a podcast that just ain't typical. I'm Donna, and he's Eric, and we are the Real Siblings. We are both professional realtors with Keller Williams, and for your reference, he's Santa Claus, I'm not, and we blend lifestyle together with real estate as we work to communicate, educate, connect, and entertain our listeners. Yes, the topics go in many directions, and you're going to be watching this or listening maybe before Thanksgiving and wonder why we're ready for Christmas. But we are going to hopefully provide you with insights that make you appreciate while we are here. So if you're watching, you know, a lot of you listen to this, right? It's a podcast. But Eric and I today, first of all, I have on two scarves. One, which is the Reed Robertson clan plaid that I got in Scotland a couple years ago. And the other one is a Norwegian winter scarf that the kids got me. And considering we're Swedish, Eric, I should have something in blue and yellow or something from Sweden, but I don't. And behind me is a picture of Eric as Santa Claus. Eric, why don't you tell our listeners about what's behind you and why we're going to talk about Santa Claus today?
Well, all right. As Donna alluded to, we have pictures behind us. The picture behind me is a picture of our grandfather, Angus Joseph Victor Torsberg. And the picture that specifically sits behind me is a black and white promotional photo from 1934. Grandfather at that point was in Chicago area. This was a promotional photo, advertising photo for the Marshall Field Company in 1934. We knew the picture existed. Ken and I had seen it, and I was already 2 years in by 1984, portraying Santa Claus. And so we did a recreate as best we could remember. We didn't have anything to go by. It's like, okay, he's kind of over here. I think there's a train involved, and
Yeah.
let's see what we can do. So we did a recreate, and these two photos are Christmas 50 years apart.
And they hang one stacked on top of each other in Eric's house in the same photo, so that you can kind of see them. And the way that we have it here, it looks like they're opposite, or whatever. You have them going exactly the same direction, right?
Yes.
In the photo. But what's cool for me to see this, Eric, is literally if it was turned, the piano was on the other side of the room, right? That the way that the images are. But for those of you that know the house in Lindsey, that were in the house in Lindsey on Lynn Street, the 1868 brick Victorian, those are the lace curtains that hung in those windows for years. And a lot of you,
The bay window.
yeah, the bay window. A lot of you were there for a Christmas party after the carol and candlelight service, or on New Year's, you might have listened to us play Old Lang Syne with our variety of instruments out on the porch. But part of the reason that I wanted to do this today, I said to Eric, you've obliged me after my trips across the world and everything about the things that I do and paying attention to, not just to the lifestyle that we had growing up or where we live now, but in other places, but the role of Santa Claus has just grown tremendously for you. And clearly, if you have ever seen my brother, the beard is real. And I have to say, it looks better than Grandpa's, which by the way, Grandpa used to leave us on Christmas Eve when we were all together and go change and turn into Santa and come back, and none of us ever knew.
Nobody knew.
We didn't know it was him. So Eric, when you started doing this in Lindsey, how old were you? Was this after college or like?
No, 1982. It was my senior year in high school. I was 17.
Okay.
Mom, I'm trying to remember who Mom took a trip with. Mom went up to Frankenmuth, to Bronner's Christmas store up in Frankenmuth in the fall of 1982.
Yep.
I'm remembering that it might have been Claire Hammer.
I could be. I think about Phyllis Malk.
And possibly Dolores Smith.
Yeah, they would have.
And headed up that way. I mean, much as I can remember, it was Lindsey. People. It wasn't like Judy Schauder. It wasn't like Marilyn Gaston. It wasn't sorority sisters from
like Mrs. Gang.
It was, and we had kind of talked about it, and she came home with a box, and I had my first Santa Claus outfit, which is what I'm wearing in the one behind you, because I already had very specific ideas. Even at that point, I was way too skinny as a high school kid to portray Santa Claus. So I went down the road to the local seamstress, Pat Geller. I had picked up material at Joann Fabrics at Potter Village Shopping Center in Fremont and some stuffing. And we made a fat suit tank top.
Really? For underneath?
For underneath. So it was really, really easy the way we did it. I mean, obviously nothing fancy about it because no one was ever going to see it. But it was soft. It was fluffy. I put it on like a tank top shirt, came down. There was padding in front. There was padding in the back. So it wasn't just.
Yeah. Just the suit, the saggy suit.
The basketball belly.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
So Eric, when I think about this, we had moved back there, right? We were living back there. And we always had Santa visit our kids, but it was never you. You didn't do it for my kids, did you?
There was one time that I remember, and at that point, Grant was old enough. And Grant, if you remember, I can almost even hear his voice where he's like, "That's Santa Claus is Uncle Eric in the face." That's how he put it. It was that Santa is Uncle Eric in the face.
Wow.
And so at that point, it's like, okay,
yeah,
can't do this if he's already
recognizing
as smart as he was picking up on that.
Do you remember if Caleb was born?
No, Caleb was not.
So it was just Grant and Adam.
It was just Grant and Adam.
Okay.
Because Grant had already gotten old enough, and as I say, I'm thinking it was 3, so it was probably 84.
Yeah, probably right around that time. So
I have another picture of Mom and Dad on the couch. Grant is sitting on their lap, and I am in behind in costume. And I had gotten them a gift from Spencer Gifts because I was the smart aleck teenage kid at that point. And Dad's opening up the Merry Christmas, unwrap this panties.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I remember that. I can't believe you ever did that for Mom and Dad. These are going to be some great reminders for my children.
And, your parents are always older.
Oh, yeah.
Your parents are always older.
Yeah.
But by 1984, Mom had just turned 50.
Yeah.
It was not like, your parents in my brain were always your parents.
Yeah.
And they were ancient.
Yeah.
But thinking to the point where it's like, okay, Mom was 32 when I was born.
Yeah.
So it just was one of those things that I didn't think of how old Mom and Dad were or how young they were.
How young they were.
Relative to it, because in my mind, they were always your parents. They were older. There was a position. There was an age and that went with that.
Yeah. Interesting.
The fact that this completely grew into it. The first big event that I did was our band concert, Christmas 1982. The concert was done over at the big auditorium stage at the junior high then, what was originally the high school.
Wow.
And when they got ready for Santa Claus, I left because I was first chair tuba at that point. I ran to the boys' locker room at the end. I got dressed in there. And then when we finally finished up the concert, I came back out and was meeting and greeting and saying hi, Christmas 1982.
So did you ever do like the Pennies? Mom was at Pennies, the Pennies Christmas party?
I did. I was the downtown Fremont Merchant Business Association, or Fremont Merchant, a downtown Fremont Merchant Business Association for several seasons. First season, I actually was in the basement at Joseph's, which was very, very cool. I mean, I always loved the Joseph department store, even as a very young person, appreciating the 3-story department store, the elevator. If you remember, on the first floor, you came past the elevator and you had that really cool kind of brushed chrome handrail staircase that went down to the basement. And you came down those stairs, did the final 2 steps right next to the elevator, and straight ahead is where I was at and positioned there. And that was because Joseph's was the anchor department store. I was never sitting in Pennies, but I was working in conjunction with Thingamajigs and Lidl's and
Joseph's and I was
Pennies. And
I was working at Thingamajigs back then. Remember, I worked there for a couple of years.
I do believe if you kind of slide your shoulder out of the way, that package that right there by me, that green package underneath my arm, that is a Thingamajig package.
Yes.
With the big ribbon and a pine cone on it.
Oh, man. What a lot of memories. I think Rachel's
memories washing back in, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I was still doing it my senior year at Michigan State because I was Santa Clausing in 1987. At that point, the parking lot at the Krogan Colonial Bank, which I don't even know if Krogan Colonial is still the bank.
I don't know.
I was positioned in like the little, it was a shed for like a parking attendant, which is funny because I don't ever picture Fremont needing a parking attendant for 12 parking spots. But that's where I was at. And that was the year, because it was a significant year. It was my senior year. Michigan State had done very well in the Big Ten. We were going on to the Rose Bowl. I was interacting a lot with Rob Lytle at Lytle's, in and out and having conversations. And I ended up getting him because he had gone to Michigan. He was a running back at Michigan. I got him a dozen white roses that were tipped green for the holidays.
Because of Michigan State.
Because of Michigan State making the game. Yes, funny, I did.
Eric. Oh,
those are the kind of memories that I associate. And of course, I was down there. That was the year I got you Sasha, got the boys Sasha.
Yeah.
So there are pictures of me in dressing room. I can't think of the store's name, down past Thingamajigs. It was a ladies' boutique, kind of catty corner from where Thingamajigs was.
Yes, and I don't remember the name either.
And I would change in there, and that's also where I took my breaks. And she got a picture of me sitting on the floor in the dressing room, half my wig and that off, because at that point I was already gluing my beard on.
Yeah.
And Sasha as a puppy is sitting on my lap.
Wow. Okay. So the years go by, right? You are, this is pre going to overseas, right? All of this is high school and stuff like that before you left.
High school and college. So
in college, and then it was the military. And then you went overseas, and then you came back, and you pretty much went straight to Texas because of the job that you got in Texas, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
I was stationed in Germany from 89 to 92 through the first Gulf War. I mean, one of my years not being Santa Claus was spent sitting in the desert in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Outside of a town called Hafar al-Batan. And I remember distinctly thinking at that time frame, one of those memories that's really, really clear. Here I am waking up in what was known in the Army as a GP small. A GP small was a GP stood for general purpose, and it was the smallest tent.
Wow.
And because I was an officer, I had a small GP small. I guess that's redundant, a small. But it was Christmas Eve.
Wow.
And I thought about the fact, with as clear as the night sky was, as cold as it was, that I was probably closer to the path that the wise men would have ever been on at that point.
Wow.
And I was never going to be in a place closer
to the Middle
than
East.
sitting out in the middle of the desert outside of this town called Hafar Abeltan.
Wow. I've never heard that story. That's fascinating.
So there are very definite distinctive things, but I had gone ahead and I had told for the unit. I did Santa Claus for my unit one year. And of course, in the military, none of this fluff was there. It all had to be artificial. And everything went fine there too, but that was the age where everybody had a VHS video camera or a Beta. And we had watched the video and everybody's running and playing and everything else. And we were playing the video back at the house. And Jamie was in the middle of the floor playing, and all of a sudden she froze. Because I don't change my voice typically when I'm in costume.
Oh my.
And she stopped and turned around and looked at the TV. And she was just like, okay, something's not right here. Wow. I'm hearing this voice, but I'm seeing all this. And of course, in the moment, just like you said with Grandpa, you never felt that. You didn't. No. It was, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Right.
It is funny as I have morphed and grown into this.
Yeah.
By this time of the year, I don't generally go out with a red shirt on. Because
people look at you.
We've talked about this in the past from a real estate standpoint, that thing called the reticular activator.
Yeah.
And because it's starting to be on the shelves, kids look at me completely differently right now, this time of year, than they do the other 10 months of the year.
So when did you stop wearing an artificial beard? Because I swear, it really only seems to me, when I go back to our family reunion pictures, I'm like, okay, you had a beard, but you didn't have this beard. When did you decide to have it be, okay, this is me year round? Okay,
so one of the, I guess, and I think you probably heard Jeannie tell this story before. So the year we got married, and actually it was the year before, it was December of the year before.
Okay.
We were with our singles group at our church going down to a orphanage on the border. So just a bunch of us, there ended up being 12 or 15 of us. We're going down to spend a day at the kids, take them some stuff, feed them, play, that sort of thing. And I was in a blue t-shirt, which it's December. Why wouldn't I be in a t-shirt? That's what I wear. And I can even tell you that shirt was from a Sam's Club. I was going and a pair of khaki cargo shorts, scruffy beard, scruffy. The kids were all kind of afraid of all the strangers that were there. And one of them was hiding behind the director, who they knew, and all the kids were kind of back behind him. And he leans out from around the director and looks at me and he goes, Santa Claus, ho, ho, ho. And that was it. Wow. Now, I'm 32 years in San Antonio. My Spanish is limited to what's on a menu.
Yeah.
And these kids who, the big white guy in a blue t-shirt who speaks no Spanish, that had one on each leg as we sat and had our beans and tortillas. Next to the ones that were on my lap were two more kids. There was one little guy who was clearly the outsider, and he and I went out to the little basketball court and shot some hoops playing basketball. Wow. It was, and at that point, Jeannie's like, oh my gosh, who is this guy? That kids see a big guy with a scruffy brown beard and that's when I really started to embrace. And then I'll tell you what finally tipped the scale was a couple of years ago when my wonderful bride, one of those many questionnaires you fill out, and it's like, no, I really don't have any hobbies. And she's like, seriously? Seriously? Have you seen our mantle? Have you looked at the house? Let's go look in your closet. And it's like, I think I am. And then, yes, this all started to grow out. I am blessed with the fact that this is all naturally white.
So, Eric, when I was just there a month or so, I felt like you were taking a long time to get ready. And you talked about what you have to do to take care of the beard. Would you otherwise have that whole spiky Viking-ish beard thing?
Yes. The beard has to be fluffed and buffed and product. I mean, there's shampoo, there's conditioner, there's beard balms, there's when I'm getting ready for photos and I have a busy day, I found a new product by Equate is the brand. I picked it up at a Walmart.
Yeah.
And I'll put that on. It's supposed to be like a styling gel, but I use it on my beard. And then you said something about the Viking. I actually have a wood comb that is wide bristled on one side, short or thin bristled on another, and then a brush. So it's a 3-step process to help brush the tangles out and then comb in the gel, the styling gel, and then fluff. And
all I know is that I was thinking to myself, okay, my brother's bald. It shouldn't take him that long to get ready, right? And so
yes.
Why am I ready before he is? Well, first of all, my hair's straight. I just let it go. But then he came out and he was telling me about his beard and how long it took to take care of it. So one of the stories that I remember, I think you were at a Tops and Blue concert and you were sitting behind a little girl.
This one was just last year.
Okay.
And she was another one and I posted a video. I'm going to stop right now and put an unapologetic plug in. Yeah. I have a new Instagram account. I have to tell you, it's entirely unrelated to the real estate thing. And that's because with the restrictions and guidelines, if it was considered to be, I'd have to post all the standard stuff that we have to post to meet legal requirements. It is Kringle Clause 82 is the Instagram, and it's only an Instagram account. So at Kringle with a K, Clause with a C, and then the number 82. And that's because the 82 is the year I first started. So my first business card was Kringle Claus or Kris Kringle Santa for hire. But in the world of social media, there's so many Santas this, Kringles that, Chris whatever, but I did a search and there was nobody under Kringle Claus. Okay. By the time I added 82, it is nothing but a fun Santa Claus Instagram account. Go to it, follow it, like it, and I will tell you, probably not going to follow you back because, again, I'm trying to keep this very, very focused toward the business. But that, it was last year. We were at an event. It was called, it's the Air Force Band of the West, which is stationed here in San Antonio at Lackland Air Force Base. And they do several annual concerts around town. This was what they call Christmas in Blue. We got there last year and there was a mom with a couple of kids sitting in the row just in front of us.
Yeah.
And she just was kind of fidgety and turns around and looks, and she looks again, and the rest of the concert, even to the point where, as part of the performance, Santa Claus shows up and Santa Claus is on stage. And she looks at him and she turns around at me and she's like,
he's shaking his head.
She's shaking her head and pointing her finger at me like, no, I know it's you. And there's stories like that. I've been in yogurt shops in the middle of the summer. There's a jewelry store story that I could tell you.
So
it has been a ride. And then I need to put the plug in for my slouchy.
Okay.
Because I'm just going to call out. So because I do a bunch of different looks, I don't do just traditional Santa.
That's what I was going to bring up next.
I was shopping, and because this is my spare time, if I start to get drowsy or something, I either open Etsy or open Amazon, and I just start going red and find it. And I was on Etsy I was on Amazon, and I found this cardigan sweater that is a plaid cardigan, reds and this cream and green. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna build a boho Santa. So I bought the sweater, and I found a slouchy hat, but I didn't really like the slouchy hat. So I'm on Etsy, and I find a lady, Angelica. She's out of Oklahoma, and this is custom made to coordinate with my slouchy sweater. And the way we did it is I took the sweater into Hobby Lobby, which we had been back and forth messaging. And I said, man, I really want to try to match the yarns. And she said, well, I can work with anything. We have a Hobby Lobby. It's like, okay, cool. I'll get to Hobby Lobby. I shot pictures of the yarn. I sent it to her by the Etsy messenger. Then she went out and bought the yarn, and then she custom made so that this completely coordinates with the slouchy sweater. But the striped one I was wearing beforehand was not holding up well. And this is just, it's so soft and so cool. And
so in the middle of the summer, first of all, you guys, you need to know that although Eric has lived in the South, essentially, for a very long time, he really prefers cold weather. He's not good. He's in his shorts like year round, sometimes in the snow on his patio. And so now...
And bare feet.
Yeah, bare feet. So now he's doing photos and things in July for the Christmas stuff. And he's already red. You can look at his face and see he's red all the time. So rosy cheeks. So then you put the red gear on him, and it's hot. And he's Eric, you've got your traditional Santa outfit. You've got a European kind of one, right? Like
kind of an old English that I've built. I've got this boho Santa now. I've got a Christmas in July, and actually I'll be using the Christmas in July tomorrow. I've got my first news video set up for tomorrow.
So you had like a Hawaiian-y shirt. Is that
right? Yeah, that one I use is kind of my I have the plaid flat cap.
Yeah.
And I have a red and white stripe that looks like it's got candy canes coming out of the pocket that just say real subtly Merry Christmas. And then I've got a couple of pair of bright red shorts that I wear with those.
And then you've got the long red leather coat.
Yes,
right?
That was a new one. That's another find from Etsy, and that's a one of a kind. I don't think the guy's even making them anymore. I showed that the business is gone. So
you've done images now for the Stock and Rodeo show.
Oh my gosh! And I got a preview of this year's Christmas card. The photos came out so good. I'm so
for those
excited
of you in Texas, just look out. You might be seeing that if you're involved in the Stock and Rodeo show. You now have done these puppies of Instagram things.
The Le Fifi Squad. Yes, indeed. They are little social media puppy influencers. They're all a bunch of Chihuahuas.
Puppy influencers.
You betcha. They had over 5,000 followers. We're still trying to coordinate the photo shoot for, I can't think. I always want to keep saying Holly, and I guess that's just a Christmas thing. But there is a dachshund who is 14 years old who has cancer, and she's approaching 15,000 followers, and we're setting up the photo shoot with her.
There. And while I was there, we talked about this before, that you have a house that's that you're just going to close soon, and she's going to be raising
Friday.
She's going to be raising the silky goats, and we think that silky fainting goats.
Yes.
And she's probably going to end up doing she's going to end up doing some pictures. So this has turned into a real avocation during now many more months than what it used to be. And for those of you that don't know, Eric also starts playing Christmas carols every day. I don't even know where he puts them all, but I usually see him on Facebook, and different songs. So he has a whole group of songs, adds some new ones every year. I think, Eric, it would kind of be remiss to say, so you guys, Grandpa being in a catalog or a magazine, our grandfather was a vaudevillian. He was a magician. And I remember Mom saying one time that her mom ran away with the guy in the circus because they met when Grandpa was performing down in Southern Illinois.
Yep, sure did.
Yeah, and so when I was back there last December, we went to a magic show, and it's really cool to see Grandpa's picture up on, the posters with other famous Chicago magicians that were known. I've done a little theater. You do this. Caleb's doing a little theater. And I got to say that genetically, I don't think it came from mom or dad. Neither one of them.
No, neither one of them are.
But certainly our grandfather Torsberg might have handed something down to us.
And I share the name. He went by Victor Torsberg, and my middle name is Victor. That's the grandfather name. And Jeannie's looked at pictures for years and going, holy cow, you guys were built the same.
And Grant is Joseph Grant, because I also used one of. So Angus Correct. Joseph Victor Torsberg, and we have shared some of his names. And Grandpa's mom and dad were the first and maybe the only ones of the family that came from Sweden. The rest of our cousins are still in Sweden.
Are overseas.
Yeah. So, all right. So there you go. Christmas at the end of November, but they're close this year. Thanksgiving and Christmas are close. So I wanted to get this in for Eric. Eric, why don't you take us out today?
So did we decide, am I supposed to close us with a ho?
Yeah. That was great.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And Merry Christmas. And let's rodeo San Antonio. What else can I throw in there? Thanks for listening and joining us today. We don't take it lightly that you have spent some time with us, and we sincerely appreciate you doing that and helping our podcast grow. As we wrap this one up, we're hopeful that our insights, just sharing a little bit about the holidays, makes you want to create your own traditions in your house, creating those lasting memories and building your wonderful life. As a final reminder, we're both realtors, both with Keller Williams. Donna's in Tucson. I'm in San Antonio. Reach out. We can help you in our own regions. And if you need help and a referral somewhere else in the world, we're connected globally, and we can help with that too. Remember, maybe simple. It ain't always easy. And until next time, I'm Eric.
I'm Donna.
We are
Real
Siblings.
Every time I think about the places I have known, I realize that times have changed. So I'll do what I can to make this house into a home. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Annabelle, and I want to thank you for investing your valuable time in listening to Real Siblings. It Ain't Easy. I hope you found this episode informative and enjoyable. There are several ways you can support this podcast with my Grandpa Eric and Aunt Grandma. Please take the time to like, follow, and subscribe. Additionally, leave them a 5-star rating along with a review on your preferred podcast platform. The final thing I would ask is that you recommend this podcast to a friend, a family member, or an associate. Your engagement is critical to their ongoing success, and they look forward to connecting. Check out the show notes Grandpa put together with their contact information, including emails, phone numbers, and website. And remember, the Real Siblings look forward to hearing from you.